Channel 2, English. Channel 2, English.
Welcome everybody to this plenary session here in Strasbourg. Of course, following a very important meeting with the COP this morning and a very busy agenda in the plenary ahead of us this week. With this said, I hand over to our group president, Iratxe García Perez, and of course, welcome back everybody after the vacation.
Good morning, everybody. Buenos días.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you. This is the first time we're meeting together after the summer break, so I do hope that you have had a good rest over the summer weeks and that you're raring to go for the new start of the parliamentary term. I'd like to start off the press conference with a message of solidarity to all the people who have been affected by the very serious floodings that have happened over the past few days in Central and Eastern Europe. So I would like to express my full solidarity with all of these people and condolences to those families where there have been victims of the floodings in Central and Eastern Europe and also the forest fires in Portugal. And tomorrow there is going to be a debate on this issue. And I think, without a doubt, this is a clear example, a clear signal of the work that we're going to have to do to ensure that this is not the new normal here in Europe and that we can do something to prevent the impact of climate change through our European policy. We've just heard the proposal from Mrs. von der Leyen when it comes to the new College of Commissioners. And if you were to ask me, and no doubt you will, if you were to ask me what our position is when it comes to this proposal, then I think I can be very clear on that. This is a proposal which has some clear aspects, some rather dark sides to it. Over the past few weeks of intense negotiation and work, we've managed to push forward certain issues which were absolutely essential for our political family. There are certain elements in the proposal which do not correspond to what we as the Social and Democrat group would have wanted. As of this moment, our political group is going to be working with responsibility and in a calm way in order to move forward with our task in the European Parliament. We want to ensure that we have an open and transparent procedure, and obviously we want to make sure that the hearings which are organised are there to get a clear idea of the commitments of the commissioners designate for each of the portfolios, and they will also serve for us to set out our political priorities. When it comes to the balance, the political balance in this new College of Commissioners, then I think we would have to say that we have two vice presidents, executive vice presidents from our political group, the Social Democrats, and that does correspond to our desire that there be this political balance between the political families. We have been working a lot over the past few years and over the past few months in order to make sure that we form part of a pro-European alliance, and I think that compromise can be seen in the fact that we now have two executive vice president portfolios, and we have executive vice presidents are going to be dealing with climate, a just and green transition. So these portfolios are in the hands of our political family, together with competition, which is one of the major European policies. And obviously, we can do a lot to achieve our climate and social targets. And the executive vice president, who is going to be responsible for the social pillar and employment, we've seen that that is also in the hands of the Social Democratic family. The actual title of that executive vice presidency does not necessarily correspond to what our priority is, but nevertheless, we're going to be working in this whole hearings process and looking at the individual portfolios just to make sure that the executive vice presidencies do place the social pillar, employment, workers' rights right at the top of the European agenda. And then, of course, these have been the priorities of our political family. And this, taken together with the Commissioner for Energy and Housing, which was the other claim that we had, and we have actually managed to achieve that this be part of the European competences, and it's going to be in the hands of the Social Democrats, and that's also good news. And there's another element that we have been drawing attention to for quite some time now, and this concerns the future of the European Union. Obviously, it's in the hands of everybody, but essentially youth, obviously, is very important because the future is in their hands. So the youngest commissioner is now going to be responsible for youth together with intergenerational fairness, and we feel that this is essential. And over this past year, we in our political family have been aiming to place youth at the heart of our policies, and I feel that if we have a commissioner who is responsible for youth, amongst other things, then I think it is going to be important for us to ensure that the youth is at the heart of the future of the European Union. And then, of course, there's everything to do with gender. This is important for us as well. And right at the start of the whole process, there was a proposal on the table for the College of Commissioners, and there were very few women, about 20%. So now we have a 60-40% ratio, and I think this does very much fall in line with the work that we have been doing as the Social Democrats to put pressure on President von der Leyen to have a more balanced commission. Obviously, we would have preferred a 50-50 balance, but this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to work to try and change the rules, the standards, to ensure that there's an obligation on the part of the member states when they do make proposals, i.e. that they put forward the name of a man and a woman. But having said that, a 60-40% break with 4 executive vice presidents in the staff plan, we feel that this does represent a step forward, but there is still a lot to do. And I think this is going to continue to be a priority for our political family over the coming years. And when it comes to other issues, there are 2 elements which we feel are negative as far as we're concerned, and that is that Nicola Schmidt, our shared candidate, is not in the proposal for the College of Commissioners. Obviously, this is a decision that is in the hands of the member state, and we did a lot of work to ensure that he would be the candidate. So obviously, this is one of the things that we like least about the proposal of the College of Commissioners. Another element where we already expressed our opinion, our position to public opinion, and which has been an element under discussion during negotiations with Mrs. von der Leyen over the past few weeks, and that is that there is an executive vice president in the hands of the ECR. This is not something that is in line with the views of our political family. The ECR is not part of the platform political groups that pushed for Mrs. von der Leyen during her nomination. So that is something that we don't like at all. And to go back to my initial analysis, obviously we are very much looking forward to the letters, other aspects as well. We are looking forward to seeing the details, and we'll be doing our job. So our job, obviously, is to organise the hearings where the commissioners designate have to prove that they do have the skills and competences and their commitment to the European Union. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be doing this work. And when it comes to taking the final decision, we are going to have to obviously carry out an overall analysis and then finalise the position of the Socialists and Democrats. There are a couple of other issues which are on the agenda for plenary. When it comes to the debate on extreme weather events and disasters, I think we do have to come up with an emergency response to this tragedy, and we do have to provide support from the European Union, especially in terms of political support, but also budgetary support for all the regions across the European Union that have been affected either by floods or by forest fires. But the response can not only be a targeted response to what's happened over the past few days. I think we have to make sure that we have a European policy which is an instrument to make sure that this is not the new normal. And then, of course, there's going to be the debate on the Draghi report, and we're very much looking forward to discussing certain important elements together with Mr. Draghi. Our political family is in favour of competitiveness. It's essential, of course, as is the economy, sustainable development, and the Green Pact. Europe has to be competitive. Europe has to grow economically, but it has to do so in such a way that it maintains the ambition of our green agenda and our social agenda. And economic growth is only going to be possible if we guarantee the future of the European Union, if this means there is more equality, fairer distribution, and people live better. And that is what we have to try and push. And in order to conclude, before we get on to the round of questions, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Jeremy Duke. Up until a week ago, he was the Director General for Communications. I'd like to thank him for his dedication and the service to this House, and I would like to wish him all the best in the excellent job and work that he is going to be doing now. And when it comes to communication in the European Parliament, then we'll continue to work from within the Socialists and Democrats and hope to cooperate fully with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Iratxe. Andy, please, and please introduce yourselves and name and medium. Merci.
Yeah, it's Andy Bounds from the Financial Times. I just wanted to ask about veto. I mean, the mathematics of Parliament suggests that the ECR is needed to vote for your candidates in some of the committees. So how can you stop veto becoming Vice President on that basis? I mean, isn't there a mutually assured destruction at work here? Thanks.
I'm going to emphasize the fact that, well, this mutually guaranteed destruction on that issue. Well, now we're going to start our work, and we're aware, of course, that the Italian government has to designate a commissioner, obviously, who will be part of the College of Commissioners, just in the same way that other countries do that. For us, it's a problem. We're going to be focusing a lot of attention on this. And during the hearing, Mr. Fito will have to demonstrate his ability, his knowledge, and his commitment to European values. The Europe of defense and democracy, the Europe of the rule of law, the Europe of equality, and the Europe for all citizens, and Europe of the major values of solidarity, justice, and respect for diversity. That is the task that we have now, that Mr. Fito has. We are now ready to take a position on this question. It's a problem for us, as I said, of course, but we will conduct our work accordingly and see what commitments that commissioner will make.
Yes, Giovanni Del Re for the Italian newspaper Avvenire. Staying on Fitto, you already partially answered, but you said simply in your introduction that you have a problem that ECR has a vice president. Can you comment also on Fitto in particular, because he was MEP here in the House, so he's well known and so on. Do you also have personal doubts on Fitto in this position, or is more a principal question you are underlining? Thank you.
I want to know from Mr. Fito his commitment to European values. Once again, we have a political problem, obviously, with ECR having an executive vice presidency, but I think it's now time to clarify and demonstrate the European commitment of all of the commissioners. This is not just going to concern Fito. We need to listen to everyone. We need to listen in all the hearings, and our task is going to be a collective one. So it's not going to be what the president of the group thinks personally. The Socialist and Democrat group will conduct its work responsibly, thinking and working in the best way for Europe, the best for Europe. And that means people who, it can't be people who are not there to support and promote European values. So we're going to be reviewing this and make sure that all of the commissioner designates are clearly and firmly committed to European values. And then the decision will have to be taken as a whole. I've been very clear. I've said the things that we don't like. And possibly when we see the mission letters, there'll be other things that we don't like. And we will say that. And we will assess that. And when this whole process is finalized, we will conduct an overall evaluation, an assessment with political responsibility, but also aware of the fact that our role as the Social Democrat family will remain what it's always been. That is, a building, but doing this whilst defending pro-European values, never allowing that those who don't defend these values to take decisions which adversely affect people's lives.
Muchas gracias. Nicholas Wallace de Iratxe. Usted ha dicho
You said that Raffaele Fito has to demonstrate his abilities. This is an assessment, an evaluation, but I understood that, but that applies to all candidates. So my question is, the Socialists and Democrats, are they against having a member from ECR as Executive Vice President, or are you indifferent to that? Thank you.
Yo entiendo.
I understand the reiteration of questions on this, but I think I've been very clear. I said clearly our group doesn't like having ECR holding an executive vice presidency. I said that very clearly. But I also said that we will conduct our work. And when we finalize our work and we conclude the review of all the candidates, we will adopt a position with respect to the College of Commissioners as a whole. Taking into account the profiles of these people, the policies, their politics, their commitment, so that they have demonstrated in this process.
Answered 3 questions on Fito. Do we have other questions? And maybe also a woman. Very good. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. This is Danielle Weber with the Luxembourg Public Radio. So Nicolas Schmidt, your leading candidate, you said it, he got nothing in the end. Your warning last week came very late. Don't you think, or do you think you fought enough for your Spitzenkandidat? And where exactly did you get more from the time where you launched the warning until today? Thank you.
That's an interpretation that is saying that the warning arrived late. You are not new here. You know what political negotiations are about. You know that those political negotiations take some time and have different phases. I think that I was very clear with regard to Nicolas Schmidt from when the elections, the European elections, were held. And you heard me say on different occasions that for us it was fundamental, it was important for Nicolas Schmidt to be part of the College of Commissioners. And I said publicly also, we said this during the negotiations publicly. And last week, we had, the fact that we came out with a release on this last week doesn't mean that it was last week that we just started working on this particular matter. And defending Nicolas Schmidt in our political family, that has been with us since the European elections were held, and the final outcome was not what we were wanting. We were not able to convince, in this instance, the Luxembourg government to change their proposal to put forward Nicolas Schmidt. Once again, it's not something that the Socialists and Democrats just thought about last week. We have been working on that over the last 2 months.
Yes, please. You just repeat, please.
Yeah, what did you get exactly more since the launch of your warning last week or 2 weeks ago?
Voy a insistir.
I'll say it again. Maybe I'll be clearer this time. Last week in that communique, we said what we were calling for, what our demands were. We talked about gender balance, which I referred to when I spoke earlier. We talked about competencies for the portfolios, employment, housing. Employment and housing are in the hands of Social Democrat commissioners. We talked about a balance. Politically, in this college, and of the 4 Social Democrat commissioners, 2 are executive vice presidents. And we talked about Dr. Schmidt and the ECR executive vice presidency. And you're aware of our priorities, you know what we said last week, and you've seen how this has been reflected in the proposal of the president. So that's why I started by saying that there were areas of light and areas of shadow. And we have some very important matters in the hands of Social Democrats, and I'm very satisfied with that. But of course, there are other goals that we did not attain.
Please go ahead.
Buenos días, Vincenzo Genovese.
Do you consider that an ECR EFB involves structured cooperation of the Commission with ECR? And do you think that this kind of cooperation is going to be problematic for you as Social Democrats, given with regard to the appointment of Austria and the Austrian Commissioner? Well, I can give you the example of the Austrian file, indeed, and its importance for the hearings. A lot of work was put into the Asylum and Immigration Pact. It wasn't easy, and we had to deal with opposing positions from certain member states. The Austrian candidate will become a commissioner for the whole of Europe, and they will have to demonstrate in their hearing that their position with regard to migration is based on the respect for international law, human rights, and respect for the solidarity established within European policy and migration policy. So we're going to be very attentive in the hearing to the Austrian Commissioner designate. With regard to the enhanced cooperation question, well, you're aware of our position in our group with regard to the extreme right, and you're aware of what happened here in this parliament with respect to the extreme right and the cordon sanitaire. This works when you have a majority of groups that make the cordon sanitaire work, and in this case it worked with patriots, it worked with the sovereigntists, because there was a majority of groups in the European Parliament that supported this. With regard to ECR, that was our position as a political group, obviously, but it didn't work because the EPP did not want to apply the cordon sanitaire in this case. So we have certain divergences, and we're going to have to work on this and deal with it. But I think it's important, particularly, well, if we think about, not about the College of the Commissioners and the future of the work in this House, is that we need to strengthen the majority that gave its support to von der Leyen, and with those political groups concerned, working on the different files on the agenda. It's a responsibility for everyone. The Socialist and Democrat group will work to avoid double standards, having majorities for some things and not for others. What we need to do is strengthen this alliance of the pro-European forces which supported von der Leyen in the work here in the European Parliament.
Please start. Thank you.
Jarno Hartikainen, Helsingin Sanomat. I missed the first few minutes of this press conference, so I'm really sorry if I ask something that's already been answered. But how happy is your group in overall in the structure of the new Commission, and especially the 2 VP positions that S&D is going to have? Are they so heavy enough to correspond to the political weight that your group holds in the European Parliament? Thank you.
As I said, we've got 4 Social Democrat commissioners, and we're going to have 2 Social Democrat executive vice presidents and 2 commissioners. So these are essential briefs. These competencies, competition, green and just transition, this was part of our priorities, so we're very satisfied in that respect. We're also very satisfied that for the Executive Vice President, Roxana, there will be a social pillar and employment in her file. We believe that it's important to have employment and the social pillar in the title. It's not there, which is disappointing, but the competencies are part of that brief. So we believe that's an element, a fundamental, important element. Having housing and youth as well. That's very important. Youth are the future of Europe, so obviously the responsibilities coming under the Social Democrats are very important. They're our political priorities, and we are therefore satisfied, not on the other matters that I referred to.
Question here when we go out, because we have to leave this room. I would not want to leave this room without thanking Iratxe and, of course, reminding all of you at 18 hours today in La Rotonde, in the other building, we will have a press reception with Iratxe and all the bureaus, so you're very welcome. Thanks a lot. Merci. Muchas gracias.